Hello, everybody. My name's James, and welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents, the first of two during this international break. And on this first one, we're going to be looking forward to a big local rivalry in the Premier League. Well, maybe for one of them. Let me first introduce you, making his Clash of the Correspondents debut, our Brentford correspondent, Tom Med. How are you, Tom?
I'm good, James. Yeah, not too bad at all. Actually, yeah, I'm very good.
Good. We'll get on to that, mate. And top of the table, it's Ted Maw, our Chelsea correspondent. How are you, Ted?
Not bad at all, mate. Thank you for getting me on after we finally got the win.
Yeah, this was planned pre-season, mate. So it was more about getting Tom on for Brentford's good run, in all honesty, and to talk about this rivalry. I'm just pleased I managed to say both your names without getting them confused the other way around. Tom, see, I nearly did it then. Let's start with you, home team. You must be thrilled with the start that you've made this season, mate.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that the Brentford Chelsea game is going to be a 6-pointer for us. I didn't realize it's going to be, a title game right at the start of the season is big. So no, it's been ridiculous. I think I was looking the other day. It's like the best start the promoted side's ever had, apart from Wolves when they went up. So yeah, can't complain really. And apart from a 90th minute goal for Brighton and could be a couple more points in there as well. So it's not bad. I can't complain.
What the listeners won't know is that you actually joked about that with us correspondent week. I said, Chelsea. You went, yeah, 6-pointer for the title. Yeah, I think so, mate. But I mean, if feet in the ground, do you look at it and go, we've been a bit fortunate? Do you look at it and think we should have more points? What's the general feeling? And are you looking at other clubs and going, this is quite easy, actually?
I'm not sure really. From where we are at the moment, I'm really, really happy. I think everyone looked at our run at the start of the season was like, actually, we've not got that hard games, but we've not played one of the bottom 6 yet, and we're sat on 12 points. So for me, it's like, I think if you said, obviously Liverpool, West Ham, obviously Chelsea next, and then Leicester, if you gave me 4 points out of those games, I'd be pretty happy. And we've already got 4 points going into those 2 games already. So yeah, it's a ridiculous start. We've played some pretty good football, although I think some people will disagree with that, with a few of the time wasting bits that I've seen on a few West Ham blogs over the last few days. But no, it's been perfect, really. I can't complain at all.
Good. We'll talk more about long ball football in a bit, mate. Ted, you must be pretty delighted with your start as well, mate. Is it part of the course, or really, because you've had a tough run, right? You must be delighted to have come into this stretch of positive fixtures and be top.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because some of these performances we've had, you've got some very valid complaints coming from them. But at the end of the day, I mean, we've had tough games when we're top of the league. I am never going to complain about that. We've got a superb squad, haven't we? And we've got a bit fortunate that so many other teams have dropped points. But yeah, you've got to be absolutely thrilled at the start.
What are the concerns and complaints then from the games? So I guess the last couple of games, if we include sort of Juventus in there as well.
Yeah, well, Juventus was sort of it's something that's affected our team for such a long time, is when they play a low block against us, we've got to know how to break it down. And better than anyone that I don't think we're suited to break down low blocks when we play a 3-4-3. I'd much rather play a back four and take some risks, commit some men forwards, because at the moment we're sort of getting split into having effectively 5 blue shirts with 3 centre-backs and 2 holding mids, then a row of opposition players, and then another 5 blue shirts. And when you don't have the central midfielders that are happy to carry the ball, make those progressive runs, then as soon as you start eliminating the pass channels, which happens when you've got so many people in such a condensed space, you start losing your options and we end up just passing around the back and not really doing anything with it. And that was what happened against Juventus. That was a big worry.
Am I right in saying you had about 65% of the ball in Turin?
I can't remember the exact number. I was going to say higher.
All right, okay.
It was weird, a serious amount, and we didn't really do anything with it. With a 1 shot on target, 73% possession, 6 in my head, but that might be wrong.
Is scoring goals a problem? I mean, that might sound like a really stupid question, but in terms of what you're saying there and some of the fixtures coming up, I made a comment on Monday's podcast that I never have that feeling with Chelsea that they're going to go and blow someone away 4-5-0. Is there any concern, like if Lukaku's not getting the service?
That's a bigger problem. Lukaku not being utilised correctly and not getting the ball enough is a big issue. if we do get him the ball, then I can see us scoring a lot. Because not only do we have now a top striker who can actually shoot, which is a lovely luxury, there's plenty of other players in our team who can chip in with goals, which is important to have. It's just there's quite a few ways to stifle us. City went with a different approach with their pressing, and that's a bit of a concern when we're up against a team that knows how to stop us, we often struggle to adjust, to change that. We had that briefly in the Villa game when we changed formation at halftime. That was a really good step because we looked so much better in the second half, but we don't see that many other games that happening.
Obviously against Tottenham in game week 5, Tuchel made a brilliant substitution to change the game. And I know he made a subtle change after the red card on Saturday, although I suspect the goal probably would have come anyway. Before we talk about FPL assets and stuff, Tom, I want to get your thoughts on the fixture. Is this the fixture you was looking forward to most because of the close proximity of the two teams?
Yeah, I think what we said just before, I actually forgot that Chelsea was a rival to us because we haven't played them in such a long time. So for me, it wasn't really anything that I saw. I think it was more playing Chelsea for the fact that you're playing Chelsea rather than playing Chelsea because they're a rival to Brentford. It's a bit like, they haven't been rivals for such a long time that that rivalry sort of almost gone. So the fact we're playing each other again would be great. I think the fact that we're playing Chelsea really is more of the draw. Playing such a team that's playing really well at the moment, or top of the league. That's more of the draw, and seeing how we can do against them. That's not bad at all. So I think that's more of it.
So I guess what would you consider as your rivals then? Are we talking QPR, Fulham?
QPR, Fulham, yeah. That's the sort of the main two really, and obviously we can't play with either of them anymore, which is not a bad thing. So they're way down the leagues now. It's always nice to see. So yeah, I'll take Chelsea as our new rivals, and well, not new rivals, but old rivals restored. That works for me.
What, something from the 1940s, mate?
Yeah, probably about that, yeah.
I know your family goes through generations, but I'm not even sure any of them will remember Brentford playing Chelsea.
They probably can't remember it anyway. So
in the top division, no, I shouldn't think so. I mean, it's worth saying, obviously, Fulham could well come back up, and I think that's more likely than you going the other way, actually, at the moment. Ted, what's your thoughts on this fixture? I think there's no animosity to Brentford, is there?
No, not really. It's nice to have another London club up there challenging for Europe, other than ourselves. It makes a nice change. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the Brentford team. They're doing a fantastic job. I would be a little bit not scared. I just would rather not play Brentford. They're one of those teams where it is going to be a tough game. They're a good side, but it's not the same as if you were to beat, I don't know, Manchester City or something. Coming into a game like that, it feels completely different. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'd rather not play Brentford, but we'll see.
If that feeling, you probably experienced this playing Fulham a lot. It was almost like a fixture you could never win, if it makes sense. Obviously, you can win the fixture, but it's always expected. Whereas, obviously, if you lose, it's such a massive deal in West London if you get beat. And
that they're going to turn up. And that's always a bit of a pain. I have quite good experiences actually watching us play Fulham. But yeah, I know exactly. I mean, it's those sort of games where you worry a bit going into it that they're going to suddenly come out and frustrate us and offer us a challenge that we can't work out how to beat easily. And that's stressful.
I'm not sure I agree with your comment either about good to have another London club to play against. I think that the less London derbies, the better. Certainly, as a Spurs fan who's just lost 3 in a row as well. I look forward to seeing you in December, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk FPL assets a little bit then. Tom, the goalkeeper is getting a lot of attention. Is he the right? If you were on wildcard now, for example, is he the right defensive one to get, or would you prefer alternative ones and look at, say, Ethan Pinnock or Rico Henry instead?
Yeah, I think the fact that Sanchez is there at 4.5 mil, well, I'm not sure he's gone up to 4.6 now, but
I think he has actually.
Yeah, but still, at that price, really having a goalkeeper in, well, the top 4 at the moment, you probably stick with him as 4.5, 4.6 million keeper. I think there's more value in their defence from how they're playing quite attackingly on set pieces at the moment with Brentford. So yeah, for me, it'd be Ethan Pinnock really would be your defensive asset if you were going to look at bringing one in. Obviously, there's a lot of the 4.5 mils who are sort of flagging a little bit. I guess obviously Evans was on Luke Ayling pre, and then obviously he's now out injured for quite a while. So there's a space for one. It's interesting, but when I play my wild card, I'm more than likely to bring in one of them in, and it probably will be Pinnock. I'm still interested in bringing in potentially Rico Henry. It was interesting when at West Ham on the weekend that basically at points in the game we basically went to 4 attackers, which was basically Toney and Mbuemo up top with basically Canos and Rico Henry playing so far forward that you basically had 4 attackers going forward, which especially with the run of games we've got after Leicester, I think we've got quite a few nice games.
Such said the same that you did that tactically on Sunday. Yeah,
it was pretty ridiculous that they just they were so far forward at points. It was they weren't wing backs, they were playing as wingers. So Rico Henry does interest me, but whether he can actually produce anything from that, I know he should have in one of the games previous this year definitely should have scored. He put it just wide of the post, but he could have
Villa away. I think game week 3. Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah, he could have scored there. And so for me, you're looking at either the bloke who is what is he, about 7'5", Ethan Pinnock, who can head everything, or potentially pretty much a wing back who's playing almost as a winger in some of those games. I'm not quite sure yet. I think probably I'm erring on the side of Pinnock still, because he just gets everything. He just seems to the ball his head just seems like a massive magnet to that ball. So I don't think he does miss a header.
Same points as Pontus Jansson, who somehow has managed to record 3 assists so far this season against Villa, Liverpool, and again at the weekend against West Ham. I don't want to say it was his header that was blocked for the goal at the end.
For the goal. I don't understand how that's happened.
So why definitely Pinnock over Jansson?
I think of the two of them, so they target Pinnock more so in crosses and free kicks. I think Jansson's getting a bit more forward this year from an attacking point of view, as in, he gets up for those chances. But I think if that wasn't the last minute of the game, so I think I think a lot of them looked at like match of the day commentary, and I think they showed that Brentford had 10 men up in the West Ham half attacking that final free kick, but it was the last kick of the game. So why not throw everyone up for the last kick of the game? I don't think Jansson is in that position if we're sort of in the 70th minute, 80th minute, whereas Pinnock is normally up.
He got his 3 assists from then, mate. Must be going forward for him, isn't he?
No, for me, I just think Pinnock's the better option. They target him more. Jansson has got involved, but if you look last year, it's all targeting towards Pinnock, and I don't think Jansson is the person that they target for those corners. Whether they've gone, people are looking at it and going Pinnock is the people they've always targeted, so they're sort of mixing it up a little bit. But for me, if I was picking one of them, it'd still be Pinnock.
And Christopher Jair's yellow flagged at the moment. Are you aware of anything on the injury front with him at the moment?
From what I've heard, he's fine.
Okay.
He basically had a bit of a hamstring tweak. I'm not sure whether it was a hamstring tweak to take him out of playing the international break, because he was away with Norway. I'm not sure whether they just decided that he doesn't fancy it. But John, they brought in Janka on the weekend, which I was always the last Premiership team he played for was Huddersfield, and we got him on a free transfer from a Swedish team this year, and I was pretty nervous about him playing this weekend, and he actually looked pretty good. So I wasn't too worried about him. I shouldn't have been too worried about him. So a little more strength than we thought.
A decent deputy then. I take it you know why he's called Zanka, don't you?
I've got no idea. No,
you'll have to Google that.
Right. Okay.
cool run-ins, mate. Honestly.
Right.
Ted, Brentford defence, does it interest you from an FPL perspective?
Yeah,
the numbers are good.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a silly grudge against them at the moment because.
I thought it was my rivalry, mate.
No, it's stupid. My dad's one of my big sort of mini league rivals, and he started with both. Well, he had double defence, and that somehow worked out fantastically for him. And I'm still fuming over that.
Started with double Brentford defence.
Yeah, he also started with Alonso, despite the fact me saying that he should go nowhere near that, and it's all worked out perfectly for him. So what do I know? But yeah, I would definitely consider them. I played my wildcard not that long ago, and honestly, they weren't that close to coming in for me. I was more interested in Ben White and Connor Cody, who I might now regret a bit, but they're putting up solid numbers and they look a really good defence. So I would definitely be interested.
It's only City, Wolves and Brighton have got a better expected goals conceded than yourself. And there's a case that they certainly Brighton have probably had better fixtures than you, and Wolves are kind of in the middle of a really good run as well. It's quite impressive. Has that been a surprising for you, Tom? Because when you came up, there was a lot of noise about how good Watford were going to be defensively.
Yeah.
No one was actually talking about Brentford in those terms.
No, I didn't really expect it. I looked at the goals conceded, and I think the thing that I didn't really think about is we conceded a lot of goals at the start of the season when we were playing 4 at the back. And then when we changed to 3 at the back with 2 wing backs, we actually, I think the last 10 games, we only conceded, I want to say, in 2 of those games. I think we got 8 clean sheets out of 10, excluding the playoffs. But it's completely different when you go up into the Prem and you're playing teams that, you know, A, have a lot more money than you, and B, have a lot more experience and players like that. So I wasn't expecting it to be as good as we're playing at the moment. But I don't know whether that's a little bit down to the fact that we're playing with a bit of freedom where each game is sort of, if we win it, it's a bonus, if that makes sense, especially against some of the teams we've played against. It's like, well, we can go out and play against them. Liverpool, I think, was the best example. That was an absolutely ridiculous game where they just didn't have to play with any fear because they were expected to lose a little bit, potentially maybe like this weekend, or sorry, next weekend, where, you know, we don't have anything to lose against Chelsea. And as you said earlier, Chelsea sort of are expected to beat us. To be honest, I expect Chelsea to beat us, but because they do look fantastic at the moment. But again, they can go out, just play, don't really have to have any pressure. If we lose 3 or 4-0, everyone's going to forget about it by next week. So yeah.
Interesting. I take it this system's going to stick now, isn't it? We spoke about it a lot in pre-season in terms of it was a bit of flip-flopping. The way you're playing, it's got to stick with this, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sort of torn. So yeah, no, I think they will stick with it. I would like to see them try a 4 at the back against maybe some of the we'll say weaker teams, although John, I don't think there's that many weaker teams really, but just because of the fact that obviously Wissa's come in and he scored 3 in the last 3 games, and it's all from as a substitute appearance. And for me, it's, well, who do you take out of the starting lineup to bring him in? Well, they've just had an injury to the centre mids, and it's like, well, you could. And obviously, if Aya's not quite fit, would you like to go to a 4-back just to try it and see how they perform against it? It would be ridiculous attacking, but with the game up against Norwich soon, maybe worth the punt.
I mean, you could play a similar system to what Chelsea most commonly play, and you just drop Mbuemo deeper, isn't it, and leave Toney as a higher, and then have the 2 players in support, and then you still stay with the back 3. That's one way of possibly doing it. But yeah, I am conscious of obviously what Vissa's done and come in, and like he was bought to be a starter.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
It's worth saying. It's just he's finding it difficult to get in the team because of the performances of the front 2 and the tactical shape of the team working really well at the moment. Ted, I'm going to annoy you now. You know what's coming, mate. Chelsea defensive players. I mean, this is brain damage, mate. You and Johnny Pringle want to start your own cult or something about predicted lineups and something. Firstly, Alonso Chillwell. Is that it now? Chilwell's back in the team and that's the end of it. Is that what it is?
It should be, but I'd never count Alonso out. I think they will probably still share minutes. I wouldn't advocate for anyone to buy Chilwell at this point. It's just too dangerous. But yeah, Chelsea fans have been asking for Alonso to leave the team again for a little bit, and sure enough, a couple of bad performances and Chilwell comes right back in. That's kind of the issue you've got there, is if one does start performing badly, then that's it. They'll probably end up getting kicked out. Chilwell was by far the preferred player last season for good reason. But Alonso's shown that he can be great, especially when we're playing against weaker teams, which, guess what? We've got a bit of a run of that coming up.
Yeah, and the other thing Alonso has in his favour is obviously height. He's decent in the air, and Brentford don't mind playing a direct ball. Let's be honest about it, and that's something that could well influence the decision making for that particular lineup.
Definitely, I'm a little bit worried about that because we'll probably be without Thiago Silva. I can't remember if it is.
I think Tuchel has said he's definitely not going to play, isn't he? Yeah,
I saw some quotes that weren't quite solid on him, but I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah. So, let's say we're looking at, I don't know, Reece James, maybe, Azpilicueta, Christensen, Rudiger, and then Chilwell. Does that give us enough defensive aerial ability to be confident? I don't know. It's a little bit tricky because Azpilicueta always marks the big aerial threats for reasons beyond me. He does not care that he's slightly smaller. But then, is Christensen going to be happy? I don't know. I don't think
is that a case, do you think, with Azpilicueta, that players like Toney pull onto him? because they know they've got a better chance of winning the area just because he's a little bit shorter?
I think they can beat him, but Azpilicueta is actually very good in the air. He knows what to do. He's smart with his tactical shirt pulling. We'll say he knows what he's doing. He'll stick a few elbows in and he'll do his job, even if he isn't necessarily the biggest centre back we have.
What's the best three at the back when they're all fit?
The one I just said: Reece James, Azpilicueta, Christensen, Rudiger, and Chilwell.
Reece James, Azpilicueta, Christensen, Rudiger, Chilwell. So the whole five.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I love Thiago Silva. He's fantastic, and I think he's really useful for when we're getting pressed and playing in a 3-4-3. Because if we shift our two defensive midfielders across to one side of the pitch, you create a huge channel through the middle that allows Thiago Silva to play sort of a quarterback style football straight up to that front three, and you can completely break an opposition's press by doing that. You can just go straight past their midfield, and that's very useful to have. And he's superb at that. He's a Rolls Royce of a defender.
I mean, I thought when you came to our place, I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. I was so impressed with him. I spent bits of the game watching him and how he moves defensively. His reading of the game is absolutely outstanding. I was surprised to hear that he wouldn't be in the best three.
The problem is he's about 80 and his knees are worse than mine. So
it's the same fucking age as me, you cheeky.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a concern with him. And Christensen's clearly growing into the team more and more. He's had a couple of slightly rougher performances recently, but he's clearly coming into Tuchel's mind as being his long-term solution. So I'd expect him to be first choice.
So does that make Christensen interesting? No.
I was starting to recommend him, and then he got benched last week. It's always the bit of a risk is that you can never feel too confident. I think if you do back him for 5 mil, you've got to be aware that he's going to miss games. So you've got to have a strong defence. You've got to have options. The fact that we've got players like Livramento as cheap options that you can sit on your bench but are more than capable to start for you, I think that makes him a bit more feasible, which I do quite like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if I was picking, I don't think I'd pay for Azpilicueta. I know a lot of people have just bought in Azpilicueta and done very well from it, but I don't know if I'd go for him. I don't know if I could afford to put that much cash out, especially when I'm loading on premiums.
The difference with the two players, though, and Christensen didn't play against Southampton, did he? No. The difference between the two players, Christensen doesn't get any attacking returns, does he? And Azpilicueta, almost irrespective of whether he plays centre-back or wing-back, does get the odd one, doesn't he?
Yeah, no. When Azpilicueta's sort of right centre-back, he will step up and he'll swing in deep crosses. He will go down the right-hand side a lot of the game as well. Christensen, I am pretty confident, I do need to double-check this, no longer goes forward for corners. Pretty sure he doesn't. I certainly don't remember him ever heading the ball because we now have a number of targets in Lukaku, Thiago Silva, Rudiger are all far ahead of him. Even Rudiger's offering more attacking threat during the game because, he's contractually obliged once again to run 40 yards and try to take out someone in the crowd with a long shot. But, he will offer threat. Just not much of it. So, yeah, it's tough to argue a case for him. But when Chelsea are going to keep so many clean sheets at 5 mil, it's tempting, isn't it?
So what have you got, Ted, in the FPL team of yours at the moment?
Oh God! So I've currently for just Chelsea or for
just Chelsea.
Rudiger and Lukaku, the two I have, and I'm very happy with the two of those, and I can't see myself adding a third.
See, that's interesting. So I've got the same two at the moment, and I'm probably in a Azpilicueta versus Cancelo quandary possibly because the other thing is I know I need the player in the next game. And I guess Cancelo could be rested against Burnley. And I assume with Thiago out, Azpilicueta surely starts at Brentford. I would have thought.
I can't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah. And same would apply to Rudiger, wouldn't it, as well? I would think.
Rudiger's going to play everything because the only player I've seen that can play on the left side of the back three is Sarr. And I know you've seen him play, James. He's not quite there.
Well, I think I'm pretty sure Christensen in 1 or 2 games last year might have played left side.
He's never played on a free. He's played as a back 2 on the left hand side, but I am pretty certain I've never seen him on the left because it was always Gary Cahill, and before that, after that, it was Zuma who always played on the left. I don't think he's ever played there himself.
I think I need to track back and check that from from the second half of last season. But yeah, you're right. Zuma certainly would have been the cover last year. Sar's obviously not ready. What you're saying, right?
I don't think so. I don't think he's quite there. I can see him playing the Carabao Cup. He may get like 1 or 2 appearances in the Premier League this season, but I can't see him being like a threat to Rudiger that we need to worry about.
No, agreed. Well, that's the Rudiger rest, isn't it? Between 9 and 10, I want to say it's the Carabao Cup ties. So Rudiger plays Brentford, Champions League, Norwich, rest in the Cup, Newcastle, Champions League, Burnley. That's probably how it is, isn't it? But the rest are more unpredictable. What would you say to those who are on Alonso at the moment? Is it a get rid? Or you just got to stick it out because the fixtures are too good?
I think if you were on Alonso, you knew this was coming. That's always the risk.
It's very true.
You accepted the pain at that point, I think. I hope no one in this call owns Alonso. But he's I would sell personally. I don't like the idea of spending that much on someone that I don't think is going to necessarily play. But you could see him play every single game in this run. You could see him play none of them. I can't cope with that risk. If you can, well,
so the same apply to Chilwell, because presumably those are on Chilwell, unless you're my wife who's fluked it and had him since game week 1, as you do. Presumably anyone who's got Chilwell bought last week, but obviously because of what he's done and obviously scoring, and I want to say he had the 3rd highest XG at the weekend as well. I think it's only Werner and Harry Kane had higher. People are going to be considering buying him now. And it's changed, right? Chilwell's back in the team. For those who are already on Chilwell, you've got to hold, isn't it? But your advice is just don't buy, right? Yeah,
if you've bought Chilwell, this is sort of a best case scenario. I don't know what else you'd be expecting that could possibly be better than this. So yeah, 100% stick. I wouldn't buy Chilwell again. Again, it's the same as Alonso. He could play every game. He could play none of the games. I would not want to risk that myself. Do
you feel, and obviously he's a serious doubt to be available for the Brentford game. Do you feel the same with Reece James at the moment as well?
Reece James is more of an option when fit. He should certainly be first choice. I guess the competition comes from Hudson-Odoi, who I'm pretty certain Tuchel does not see as a right wing back option at all. Whenever he talks about his right wing back options, it's always just James and Azpilicueta. The other risk is someone like Chalobah, or I guess Thiago Silva. They all sort of add into a bit of a rotation risk. So he may, again, you could be looking at James playing just 50% of games. That's what's putting me off him.
Yeah,
James he will get assists.
James's competition, Alonso and Chilwell are obviously competing with each other, and Hudson-Odoi a little bit. But in James's case, he's competing with the centre backs as well, because obviously he can move Azpilicueta further forward. Who have you got, Tom, from Chelsea?
I'm on Azpilicueta and Rudiger at the moment, so I brought them in last week because I was planning on wildcarding this week, but I've decided against it now. But sitting on Azpilicueta and Rudiger, I feel pretty comfortable. They're just, like Ted said, it's, Rudiger's obviously playing absolutely everything, and Azpilicueta obviously seems to be playing everything. And then if he's not playing in centre back, he's playing right wing back when James is out. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty happy with those two at the moment.
It's worth saying, just a quick one, Ted. Obviously, the 2 Champions League games you've got coming up during this brilliant run of fixtures is Malmo, home and away. What does that mean? Is that the easiest fixture of the lot? Or does he look at it and go, because you've lost to Juventus, you can't take a chance?
I would not want to try and guess, honestly. It is horrific trying to predict this. I can see him probably... I can't remember if we play home or away first. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I can tell you if you want to blag it for a minute, mate.
So basically, I expect us for the first leg, certainly, not the first leg, but the first game out of the 2, to probably go a bit more safe, go a really strong lineup. And then if we are comfortable, I can see minutes being given to other players. I don't know how much rotation is going to be, because we're going to rotate the forwards almost certainly, because there's a lot of people that need minutes there. Judging by reports, Saul is going to need minutes. Otherwise, he's going to start getting very grumpy. So I can see them playing there.
Didn't he, mate?
It was not good. It was, I mean, we've seen a lot of dodgy midfield performances.
Basically, Loftus-Cheek has jumped him, right?
Yeah, for good reason. I can't see why, if you're Saul, you're complaining about this, because, Loftus-Cheek's come in. He's struggled for a while, but he has played brilliantly, and he's doing what he needs to do. He looks comfortable on the ball. He was progressing the ball, which is something we sorely needed from that midfield duo. So yeah, I'm not surprised he's jumped ahead.
The first of those Malmo fixtures is at home,
right?
Which that falls in between the Norwich and Newcastle games. So you got Norwich at home. I think it's an early kickoff. Is it an early kickoff?
Oh, I can't remember, mate.
Game week 9. I feel like it is. Oh no, so it's in between the Brentford and Norwich. It's Brentford away, Malmo at home, Norwich at home. Then you got the Cup, Newcastle away, and then Malmo away before you play Burnley at home. I mean, it's such 7 brilliant things. The hardest one's bloody Brentford, mate. You mentioned there, Ted, about forwards rotation. Does that include Lukaku?
I mean, he's got to miss games eventually, but he's going to be nailed. He was signed to start every game. He's very important. We've got to, figure out how to use him. So I expect him to play pretty much everything, with some reduced minutes here and there. So I wouldn't worry about him.
Yeah, I think it's maybe only the Norwich at home one might get. I mean, so obviously the best captain choice, I think, in game week 9, and I just think that might make people a little bit nervous based on what's happened with Ronaldo and what might happen next week with Mo Salah as well.
The problem is when we're playing these bad teams, I say bad teams, I'm going to offend people there, but against teams that are more likely to play deeper, what's the alternative? Are you going to play Werner up front? I mean, he's going to struggle when he doesn't have sort of vertical running spaces to move into.
But he's used Havertz a lot in the role, hasn't he?
He has, but I feel like he's drifted away from that a little bit recently. I don't know whether you'd risk playing, Werner and Mount off Havertz, for example, if that's a smart play. I think you've got to play Lukaku there and bang a few goals in.
Tom, you obviously haven't got Lukaku. Is there a plan to do so?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was
emphatic.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was going to. So the plan was to wildcard this week, and then I looked at my team. Actually, it's pretty solid. I'm tempted, and it's going to sound pretty stupid whether I do it or not, but I'm currently still on bloody Bruno Fernandes. So I'm actually quite tempted to move sideways to De Bruyne because he's just so low owned and he's playing Burnley next. So obviously that's a guaranteed 5-0 home victory for Man City, as always is.
Yeah, that's next week's Clash of Correspondents. You might not want to tune in, mate.
Okay, I won't. No, so I don't know. I think Kevin De Bruyne's everyone's sort of looking past him. And I think Lukaku will play every game. Well, Ted's best place to put that, to be honest. But I just have a feeling that I might go to De Bruyne this week instead.
Oh, I don't mind that at all, mate.
But whether it's a 1 week, I still have my wild card intact, so there's still potential that, because obviously then it's United versus Liverpool game week 9, where I currently am sitting on quite a few United players and quite a few Liverpool players. So I feel like it's going to have to be a bit of change there. So it might be the wild card comes out in 9 and I have to take a 1 week punt on De Bruyne. So
yeah, get that. Yeah. It's reasonable, and I can understand. There's no desperation to get Lukaku in for this fixture. I don't think. I mean, where do you stand on captaincy, Ted, for game week 8 with Salah at Watford and Lukaku at Brentford? I think obviously other than City players as well, they're the standouts really.
Yeah, I'll be on Salah. I'm pretty certain for that. I'm happy to own Lukaku, but I'm not expecting a big haul there, so I wouldn't consider captaining. Well, I wouldn't. I wouldn't captain.
It's the same for you, is it as well, Tom?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think it makes the most sense really on that one. Maybe De Bruyne if I do bring him in, but yeah, we have to throw it between the two of them.
I think me and Ted are going to be vice captain Lukaku fishing for team news in the minutes before deadline, and it will go on Lukaku if Salah's bench for whatever reason, I think. But game week 9, I think it's really important to say that Chelsea at home to Norwich, Liverpool and United playing each other, City go to Brighton, Tottenham go to West Ham. It's just so obvious Lukaku in that week. Means it's so obvious that he's probably going to get benched. Talk to me about your front man, Tom, or the front men as we should call them, really, because Mbuemo on the stats, him and Toney, they're really close in terms of their output of their attacking numbers.
Yeah, it's I've seen a lot of people obviously going, Mbuemo over Toney at the moment. For me, it's not that clear. So on the West Ham game, obviously Mbuemo scored the goal, but basically it's Toney's through ball to Canos, and Canos basically has a one-on-one, which is saved well by Fabianski. In another circumstance, Mbuemo blanks this weekend and Toney gets an assist. So for me, it's not as cut and dry as everyone going, well, Mbuemo's playing further forward, and Mbuemo's doing this, and Mbuemo's doing that. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a really good player and is a good enabler at 5.5, but I think the difference is you've got Toney at 6.3 currently in a forward position, which is obviously incredibly cheap, in a position where I don't think there's as many options as there are in midfield at 5.5. So you've got the likes of Decore, Gray, Gallagher, Smith Rose coming back into the fold. They're all options. Whereas I think if you need someone around that 6.5 mil striker, I think if you even go up to 7 mil, there's no one really there. You have to jump up really to sort of Bamford or Antonio or Jimenez. And then the only one sort of around, I guess, Toney now, which is looking potentially interesting, is Hwang Hee-chan but at Wolves. But whether he's not a nail, I don't think, well, I'm not sure if he's nailed or not really yet. So for me, Toney becomes a better option because A's on penalties. So if we do get penalties, he will be taking every single one. He plays every minute. And knock on wood, he never gets injured. So for me.
What if I said to you, Tom, I was considering buying both of them?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So, but the thing is, so I'm doing both of them because I'm a incredibly deluded Brentford fan.
You've already got Toney, though, haven't you?
Exactly.
And I've seen your bus team for game week 8 with Toney
and I'm
on the
benching
bench.
Exactly.
You're not benching Ivan Toney, mate.
Well, no, because Jota and Torres aren't going to play, so he will come on. So, no, I will play him probably. But the thing, and I will be going to Mbuemo. I foolishly took him out for Rafinha. With Leeds' good run fixture, which I don't think is that foolish, really. But I will probably be getting Mbuemo in. The one that scares me the most is Conor Gallagher, really. I think he's the one that, he's only a little bit more expensive than Mbuemo. And I think that his output potentially will be higher than Mbuemo's output this year.
Yeah, I'm looking at something like Jota to Mbuemo in 9, and then the 4.5 up to Toney in 10. It's something similar to that is kind of what I'm looking at, because you've got, and I think at the moment we've got to put Leicester in there as a decent fixture at home in game week 9.
Yeah.
Certainly they're a good side, but certainly defensively they're not right. So it's Leicester at home, Burnley away, Norwich at home, Newcastle away, Everton at home. It goes on. Tottenham away, you shouldn't be scared of. I'm sure you're not. Leeds away, Watford at home. Actually, it goes all the way up to game week 16.
Yeah, it's a really good
for
run.
those who've already used that wild card as well, I mean, it's got to be attractive.
Yeah, definitely. I really like the idea of getting them both in. It depends on if people are going with a defender as well for Brentford. Really, do you want a Brentford triple up? That's
I'll be honest, I haven't thought that at all.
No, I think defensively, I think we've put out really good numbers so far. Whether we can keep that for the rest of the season, I'm not sure. Attackingly, and Mbuemo's playing, so Toney, I've obviously given what I think of him, and obviously on pens and all of that, but Mbuemo is playing further forward than him, and Toney is a player that will hold up the ball and get that ball forward to Mbuemo. So, he's going to have chances. I think he's hit the woodwork 4 times already this season. To put it in perspective, I think it was Werner hit the post the most times last year.
Don't bring Werner into missing chances, mate.
No, but he hit the post 8 times last year, and we're on game week 7, and Mbuemo's already hit the post 4 times. So he's getting in the positions.
You mean to tell me Werner had 16 goals disallowed because of VAR and also hit the woodwork 8 times?
And hit the woodwork 8 times. Well, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So, which is obviously a bit. I think Werner got a bit of a bad rap last year. He was a bit unlucky, I think. But yeah, he's hit the post. So he hit the crossbar against West Brom. He's hit the crossbar against Palace, and he's hit the post twice as well. So he's getting in all of the right positions. He's a confidence player, so I think now he's got a couple of goals. I don't think that's gonna. He's gonna build on that, and he's gonna get more.
I think he believes in his ability. He's got a presence about him. I think he feels like he belongs. There's no
definitely.
About it.
He's definitely. I think the thing about him though is he is still only 22 years old, and so I think that he feeds off of the confidence of around him. So if Toney's playing well, he's playing well. I think it's almost like a little bit of a competition between them though. That I think he wants to be. If he's scoring goals, then he'll be on it. He'll be with it. If he gets into a couple of blanks like he did last season, where he had a bit of a bad patch, it does seem to affect him a little bit. He's still incredibly good going forward, but it will affect him a little bit. But he's had a couple of goals now, and I can see him cracking on and getting a few more in the next few weeks.
Ted, thoughts on the 2 forward players? Obviously, Mbuemo, who nobody knows how to pronounce. I'm just sticking with Mbuemo as far as I'm concerned. He's obviously a midfielder. What's your thoughts on the 2 of them, Ted?
I'm enjoying this conversation a lot and getting dangerously close to becoming smug. I bought Mbuemo last week before that.
I'm not going to invite you back, you know that.
I had a bunch of my forwards keep getting injured, and I had a bunch of problems building up. So I took a -8 and went for Saka and Mbuemo in midfield.
Saka's injured. You ain't so smug now, are you?
Yeah, well, we won't talk about that. Going with triple premiums. So yeah, I mean 5.5 mil and out of position. Yes, please. I like that a lot. Good fixtures coming up, looking on good form.
I feel like with Mbuemo, we've been really long to kind of delay really kind of, oh yeah, this is what we want to do for two reasons. One, we knew you had this really tough run coming up, which looks better now than it did prior to playing Liverpool and West Ham, obviously. And I just think it was, it's Brentford. I'm not bothered that it's an OOP. Whereas actually, I don't know, for comparison, if it had been even, I don't know, like a Palace player or even a Newcastle player or something, we might have been all 5.5 OOP up front. But because it was Brentford, and I think there was a little bit with Wissa as well, not knowing what the potential impact of him would be, a lot of us have been quite slow to it. So, I mean, well done to getting on, Ted. Toney?
Yeah, keep with him. I wouldn't, if you're getting rid of him, then you're an idiot because he's going to score goals. Like, okay, fine. I think I saw someone put a comment to me the other day saying like, oh, he's only had 2 goals we scored 10 goals and he's only scored 2. That's not really talisman mentality. It's like, well, he's got 2 goals, 2 assists. And the fact the goals are being spread around isn't a bad thing. I don't see that as negative at all. So no, he's going to score goals this year.
No, the only thing I'd say is I think longer term, what's that 40% goal involvement? I think we probably expect that to be in the 50s as the season, and we've got more data and stuff like that. And Ted, Toney, thoughts?
Yeah, if I hadn't gone for both Ronaldo and Lukaku, I'm pretty sure Toney would be the third forward I'd be having at the moment. Like him a lot. I think he's going to score a good amount of goals. Very impressed with him, and he's a great price. I would definitely be putting him high on my watch list.
I take it, Tom, the midfielders, other than Mbuemo, obviously we shouldn't even speak about from an FPL perspective, should we?
Matthias Jensen is my only one I'm going to say again. He's 5 mil, so he's cheaper. Frank's been playing Baptiste, but Baptiste just dislocated his shoulder against West Ham on the weekend, so Jensen will come in. Last season, his assists were, I think he got 12 or 13 assists. At 5 million, you know, if you need an extra half a mil, then that's really interesting.
Triple Brentford attack, yeah.
Yeah, why not? So, sounds positive to me. So
I know we've been impressed with you, Tom, but
not that impressed.
Yeah,
not that impressed.
I'm not even sure I can bear to do the double actually, but I think it possibly makes sense for my strategy actually. What's the impact of Jensen though? Because I one of the things we spoke about before, I know you were well clued up on it, was basically that actually if he played, there was possibly more chance that you might move to a back 4.
Yeah, I thought that, but I think I've changed my mind a little bit on it. It's what he seems to be playing now is the 3 in the middle is basically 2 centre defensive midfielders and 1 slightly more attacking. We started the season with basically 3 CDMs, but playing the new signing Frank and Yeka as a more of attacking role. Then Baptiste has come in where Jensen has not been fully fit, is my opinion. And now obviously Baptiste dislocated his shoulder, he'll be out for you're expecting a few weeks there. I think Jensen will come in. He's a Danish international, played in the semi-final against England, obviously from the bench to be fair, but he was one that was mainly deputising for Eriksen after Eriksen's obviously injury, or in the Euros.
Will he, if you stay with the back 3, will he go and play in the hole behind the front 2, or do you still expect that midfield to act as a kind of flat 3? Yeah,
I think it'll still act as a flat 3, but I think that what they'll do is they'll allow Jensen to a bit more of a free roaming role, so he'll be allowed to move forward and his passing's ridiculous. Like with Mbuemo running off, I actually think that is an advantage to having Mbuemo and Toney because his passing is really good. But the only issue I'd say is that with him coming in, a lot of people saying that Mbuemo's on corners and free kicks. He won't be on corners and free kicks anymore if Jensen's in.
You've answered the next question. Thanks very much, mate.
No worries.
When you were mentioning all them midfielders at kind of 5.5 who are performing very well, you missed out one obvious name who Ted's going to recommend. No, not Jorginho, Ted. I keep getting asked about Kovacic every week. Can you wrap that up for me, please? Oh, look, he's frozen now, isn't he? Ted, you back?
I'm back. No.
Kovacic, we didn't hear what you said.
No, basically. I mean, who's going to be the first choice pairing in midfield for Chelsea is going to be almost certainly Kante and Jorginho, right? So, I mean, you got to pay. You want someone that plays every game. And yes, he's been looking fairly attacking, but he's not going to continue at that high rate for attacking returns. So just don't bother with it.
All right, noted. I think there's a few possibly thinking if it stays as a free, obviously.
Well, that means no Mount.
I'm guessing Kante might be back for Brentford. It depends on how he reacts. He's had COVID, bless him.
Yeah. It'd mean no Mount though if he played a free, and I can't see that happening.
So you don't think like the two up front will last? I know you didn't play that way at the weekend, but you kind of finished that way with Werner going high again with Lukaku. I presume the way you visualize it, Mount and Havertz back in the team behind Lukaku, right?
Not necessarily Havertz. I would still say that Werner could play instead of him, very definitely. He's looked better than Havertz recently, but Mount is pretty important for our team, and as is Kante. So I can't see either of them missing out. So at that point, you're talking, is he going to play, I don't know, Mount up front with Lukaku? I just can't see that ever happening. So the other option is he going to play Kovacic over Jorginho? Well, okay, it might happen sometimes, but again, I can't see it happening.
Agree. Do you think Havertz might be fatigued? The fact that there was a lot of scrutiny on him the start of last season. Then he finished the season really well. Then obviously went and played at the Euros as well, and there was a lot of pressure on them and they underperformed. Would he be a bit fatigued? Because it sounds like you're saying he's been underperforming so far this year.
It's very possible. That's the reason. I think there's probably more to it than that, because I think, players like Jorginho is probably very fatigued as well. But he's still playing decently well, as a few other players. Clearly, with Werner and Havertz, it hasn't quite gone swimmingly. But Havertz has dipped recently, and if I was Tuchel, I'd be taking him out of the spotlight for a little while.
Interesting. Very interesting. I think it's possible that obviously being out the team a little bit, most people didn't go for Havertz Mount, whereas if they had been prior to game week 7, I think there would have been a lot of steaming in. So I think most people probably escaped and avoided something they planned to, actually. Guys, absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for that. Before we go, let's do some predictions. Tom, you're the home team. You've already spoiled it, but go on, give us a correct score prediction.
Oh, I don't know. Go maybe like 4-0 Brentford.
Keep going. I let that out.
No, I think it's probably going to be 2-0 Chelsea.
Ted?
I was going to say 2-0. I'm between 2-0 and 2-1. I can definitely see a headed goal from Brentford, but I'll lean towards 2-0.
I'm going to go 1-0, I think. I think it's credit to you, Tom, because we was talking before the West Ham game as well, saying like, even don't expect them to massacre you. Like, there's no visualization, I think, of people thinking they're going to beat Brentford 3-4-0 at the moment. Like, we're all pretty impressed. We didn't even speak about long ball football. We'll have to do that next time you come on. Just before you go, Tom, where do you think you finish at this stage now?
I think where we are, I know at 12th. I think 12th.
You'd have taken that pre-season, mate, and I think you'd still take it now. That would be
absolutely,
an amazing finish, mate. And for yourself, Ted, for Chelsea, obviously,
I will go second. I so badly want to say first. I'll go second.
Say first.
Do it.
You are top of the league, mate.
We are allowed. Yeah. I just feel like I'm going to curse the team though as soon as I say that. So.
I don't think the team's listening to you, mate.
So I'll say it for you then. I think they're going to win the league. So
yes, I like that. Yeah.
My only concern is goals, and I think it's interesting that, like I said, that idea. I don't see Chelsea winning games 4-0 or so, and yet we've already joked about what City will do to Burnley next week. That won't matter on the points at the end, but it just worries me, as we said in pre-season, said like the Arsenal fixture and the Villa fixture last season, the little things that made me concerned if you had a kind of a stubborn day in front of goal, and you've spoken about that. And Brentford, as Tom knows from analysis I did on your team a couple of weeks ago, that to really compact the area defensively and get people in the way, and will make it frustrating. I foresee it being a low scoring encounter, actually.
I agree.
You can definitely win the league, Ted, no doubt.
Yeah, well, I agree that we might have some problems scoring goals, but the team's going to get used to Lukaku. We're going to start playing together better and better. We're going to start using, learning how to utilise him better. We've scored, I think, 15 goals this season, and I can't see us getting worse now. I can only see us getting better or at the very least staying the same. So I'm not that stressed about scoring goals, honestly. I know low blocks are going to be a problem, but I trust Tuchel to figure out how to break them down eventually.
Yeah, the manager is top class. I also think that it's the first time I've really thought this, but I'm clear on it now. You've got the strongest squad now.
Yeah,
in terms of depth, you've got more than City. Your understudy players are better than City's, in my opinion.
I'm trying to think who City had.
There you go. You're having to think about it. That's the point.
Well, yeah. But I worry about the City. I know it's talked about to death in the media, but the lack of that big target figure. I would love to have that at City, just to have a presence in the box at all times, which mainly pushes me a bit towards Chelsea. But I mean, look at City's midfield, for example. The weapons they have there.
To be honest, I actually think that the City will probably still edge it. You've both got different issues to iron out. It'll be interesting the longer the season goes on, because I suspect it will be a narrative at some point. Chelsea is struggling to break teams down. It'll be a narrative. City aren't scoring goals, haven't got a centre forward. Is how you run through those bad periods that will kind of decide it in the end, I think. Tom, where can everyone follow you on Twitter, mate?
Yeah, everyone follow me, FPL Dummy Tom.
Plug your podcast, please.
Yeah, I do a weekly podcast, comes out Monday evenings. It's the FPL by Dummies, and we're FPL by Dummies on Twitter.
They really are as well. Thank you, Tom. And Ted, where can everyone follow you, mate?
At Rotation FPL, if you dare.
If you dare. for Chelsea predictions that he doesn't want to make on team lineups. Basically.
Chelsea rubbish and the occasional dodgy stat.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. I'll be streaming on YouTube, usual time, 3 p.m. UK time. Next week's Clash of Correspondents will be, as said, Manchester City versus Burnley with FPL Pringle and Turfy Topper. Other than that, thanks again to Tom and to Ted. Cue music, please, man child.